Welcome back to the Hot Rod Hangout podcast.
Whoop, whoop.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Ashley.
And the special guest in the house tonight, we have Zach Parks with WiredCustoms.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, it's an honor to have you. So basically, first question, like what kind of got you into cars to start with?
My family, for sure. I have two uncles and a bunch of cousins, and all of them are into hot rods. They all have different styles, of course, but just grew up with my dad and my uncles racing, and they'd build cars together. And as a little kid, I'd sit there and spray paint on 47 Fords and ride in 65 Cobras and all sorts of crazy stuff. And it just gave me the bug early on, and I slowly developed my own taste, a little bit different than the rest of the family, but
Mhm.
we just all love the same thing, old cars.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah.
So what is WiredCustoms in a nutshell?
Kind of a traditional hot rod business. It is business. And I do, obviously social media and YouTube and all that kind of stuff for fun, but mainly it's a business. And I do 59 and older vehicles. I don't like to do things newer than that, only because, that's my taste. And I can tell you anything about what brake fits this car and what steering box fits that car. And I have a 41 Pontiac here and I'm bagging it. I already know what suspension to put on it. And,
Hell yeah.
if you wanted to ask me stuff about a 71 Chevelle, I can
Mhm.
do it. But, I just with all the early stuff, I know who has what, because I'm always tracking that kind of stuff. So
You
I just
found your
started limiting
niche.
myself to, yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
I started limiting myself to exactly what I know. And I don't really like stuff newer than that anyway. So I get to work on the stuff I like.
10-4. So what is the I don't know how many cars you currently own, but what is the favorite car that you currently own that just puts a smile on your face every time you drive it?
Well, if you had to limit it to driving, be my 31 Roadster. Um, I built it in 28 days from like everything. Rebuilt the wheel bearings, axle, engine, transmission, like the whole thing in 28 days. Then raced it at Trog. So I guess that'd be my favorite one. But the Blue Martian is slowly becoming a heavy second, but I haven't driven that one yet. So
Gotcha. Hell yeah.
You got to be getting close though, right? That build's coming along pretty good, ain't it?
yeah, it's coming along great. I'm actually to the point where I need to take it all the way back apart again and finish weld the frame and start painting stuff. So yeah,
Awesome.
it's going along good.
Do you have a show that
But
you're trying to
you
make
know,
that for, or is that just kind of when it's done, you gonna roll it out?
I have 2025. I have like the front row at Grand National Roadster Show for it. So I have to
Awesome.
have it there.
Mhm.
So I want it to be done by then.
Awesome.
Heck yeah. This is awesome.
So, what is one car that either you missed out on the opportunity to buy or a car you sold that basically as it was driving away, you were like, that was silly. I shouldn't have done that.
Well, thankfully, I don't regret anything because I either got what I wanted out of it or traded it for something that I want.
Mhm.
I would like to have my 65 F100 back. Um, I traded it like 2 weeks after finishing it, so I didn't get the chance to do all the fun stuff in it. So I'd like to either buy it back or just build another one, but it was awesome. I fully restored the whole thing and I didn't repaint it. So I had old 1965 paint on the outside. That
Hell
patina
yeah.
thing was really big when I did that.
Mhm.
And I had a 5.8 fuel injected motor in it, and it was slammed axle flip and drop I beams. I left the I beams in it. I'm old school. I like solid axles and I beams. So, but it was cool. It was awesome. The shifter was just how I liked it, level with the top of the steering wheel. So that rat fink type driving, and
All right.
I enjoyed it for 2 weeks, but I didn't get enough time with it.
Yeah.
Was that a case where like somebody just came up to you and was like, "Hey, I need that," or were you actively trying to sell it?
Someone said they needed it and
Gotcha.
they wanted to trade me my dream car, which was a Model A for it. And I was like, all right, I
Okay.
guess I'll trade.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So you focus mainly on, Model A's and that era of cars. Um, and I know you do a lot of traditional stuff. Uh, channeled or nah?
I like everything. I like the stock motor. I like Hemis and blowers, and I like channeled. I like chopped. I like East Coast, West Coast. I
Oh,
like it all. I don't have preference.
okay.
Um, the Blue Martian is channeled 7.5 inches, which is a 28 Roadster pickup. But then my Roadster, 31 Roadster, is a high boy. I love them just the same. I like everything.
That's cool. Yeah, if it's cool, it's cool.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, exactly.
so if someone come up and just said, I want you to build whatever you want to build, no budget, what is that car or truck or
Would be um, super customized fat fendered Ford, which I don't think at one point in time it was huge, and now you don't see them very often. They're usually stock or street rotted, like 90s style.
mm-hmm,
But like back in the 50s and 60s, fat fendered Fords with shaved hoods and channeled, and where the fender goes right through the door, they extend the fender, and
mm-hmm.
back then that was huge. And I'd like to bring that back, which I plan on doing that in the next year or two.
Awesome.
Hell yeah.
So you got I know you have the Rebel Fest coming up. What's that,
Yeah. Um,
May 24th?
we changed the name because there was a different Rebel Fest that we didn't associate with, so we changed it to Black Cat Bash
Okay.
Hell yeah.
You want to
because
touch
it's
on
m- yeah, I'm working with the 13 Rebels, so that's why we called it the Rebel Fest, because it was a race to highlight their MC motorcycle club, and it's been around since like 1902 or something like that. So that's why we called it Rebel Fest. But then Rebel Fest is something else where people shoot guns up in the air and scream America and stuff. So uh, we want to focus on hot rods,
right.
not
Hmm.
anything like that. So um, Black Cat Bash is going to be. We have a dirt oval for choppers and old school motorcycles where we're going to race them. But then we also have a straight line dirt drags on the other side of it. So you could do straight line dirt drags in your hot rod, rat rod, whatever you got, motorcycle, or you can do oval drags in your motorcycle, or you can just come for the car show, or we're gonna have a chopper shindig, so a big chopper hangout. Then I don't know how many motorcycle events you guys go to, but we're gonna do motorcycle games.
Okay.
It's a lot of funny things. Anybody with a motorcycle could come up and do.
Mm. Hell yeah.
Do
That
you currently have any motorcycles
Uh,
or you focus just on the cars?
well, I do bikes too. I have a '72 Ironhead chopper that's black and white stripe. I call it Beetlejuice.
hell
Hell yeah.
yeah.
It's like nothing about it's original. It's a big bore kit, big cam, big tire, 21-inch tire on the front, and it's ridiculous. I mean, it's hard to keep the front tire on the ground on that thing.
Cool.
Then I got a '94 Harley Fat Boy, which that's what got me into motorcycles was watching Terminator 2 Judgment Day when I was a little kid. And
Okay.
I always said I'm gonna have that bike one day, and finally saw it for sale. I drove down 6 hours to go get a '94 Fat Boy, which is semi unpopular bike worth buying, but I was happy to get it.
Hell yeah.
I think Fat Boys are one of the class of motorcycles. That model is kind of either you love them or, it's. I've always been a bagger guy just out of necessity when I first bought my bike. I was in college, so I needed saddlebags. And so I bought a bagger, and then that was before, baggers became cool. And I always thought it was funny because I don't know if up where you're at, they do the under 21 tags. But in Florida, we don't have a helmet law unless you're under 21. So if you register a bike in your name and you're under 21, you get an under 21 tag. So we would pull up places and people would see, a bagger and then under 21 tag. So it was like, what? I'm like, yeah, I bought it. So I have, so that was always, and then baggers got cool. And I was like, damn. I kind of chased I had a performance bagger before the craze. So I was like, it was blacked out. And then everybody started blacking their stuff out. And I was like, okay, well, I have a performance bagger. Well, now, I mean, they're putting ridiculous power down on them. So.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So what show or event do you try to make every year?
I go to Trog every year. I haven't missed a year in quite a while. I even went to the California version of Trog, too. So.
Okay.
It's one of the ones I can't miss. A lot of my business revolves around it, showing off what I did this year and meeting people and talking to people and being the flathead guy. I mean, it's nothing but flatheads there. So,
yes,
helping people, giving people a hand, when they have something going on. Because I'll go up there with full carb kits and spark plug wires and, distributors and all sorts of stuff. If someone breaks down, there's nothing I can't fix on the beach.
You're the guy to know there.
Blown pistons and stuff.
Yeah.
But I try to help, but it's the crowd of guys that are there are all like, at this point, are all my friends. And, I can't miss it because that's the one time of year I get to hang out with everybody.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So is there a show or event that you've never been to that you would like to make?
Yeah, Starbird for sure. I'll be there next year, so I'd like to make it. So I'm gonna make it.
Cool.
Hell yeah!
Are you gonna try to make Dragon Destroy showdown in September?
I don't even know what that is.
Hot Rod Hangout, September 20th through the 22nd. It's at Greenville, or I'm gonna say it wrong because I'm not from Texas, but Greenville Sports Park. Hometown Hot Rodders and I forget the other person that's doing it, but yeah, Hometown Hot Rodders is a sponsor of that. Shout out to them because they gave us a shout out on their podcast, so I guess we have to shout them out too. Them other guys.
We do it every podcast. We mention them.
Oh, they've helped us
out. I did some races with Brian.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. Are you gonna try to make it to Battle at Midway, the Mid-Arc Kansas race with Gasser Garage? That's in June.
I try to make it. I'm gonna try to do more stuff this year. I've been so busy, it's been hard to travel when you're busy. Then now I want to carve out some time to travel a little bit more this year.
Yeah, when we were talking to Ken, he was talking about, you all got to make it out to the West Coast shows. I'm like, it's hard enough for us to make it to our side of the country shows with work and trying to get our own shit together. And I set a lofty goal for the 32 to make it.
You guys should go out to the Vegas shows. You'd like that. The Rats of the Beaver and all the Rat Rod shows. I know the guys at Rat Rod Magazine and Nobody and everything, and you'd really enjoy hanging out with those guys.
Well, Rats at the Beaver came to Florida in November last year. They were in Daytona at Turkey. Them and Bad Apple put on a show 2 different days across the street from each other. I really want to win a Bad Apple trophy. Yeah, we were over there. My 54 was in Airbnb jail all weekend, though.
Airbnb jail?
We rented an Airbnb, and the house was beautiful. It allowed dogs, so we could bring our dogs. We went to Turkey Rod Run for 4 days, and we left Thanksgiving dinner. Like, we did the parent tour and then over to Daytona, and I was like, all right, cool. It's a beautiful Airbnb. There's no way it's on a shitty road. It was literally the shittiest road I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So for 2 days, I tried to find a local. When we were leaving in my big truck, I just left the car at the house and was just taking my truck back and forth. And coming home and leaving, I would always try to catch somebody out and be like, listen, can I just drop my car in your driveway and I'll park my truck off the side of the road so I can drive my car? And I could never catch anybody out. So we're going to do a little bit better research for Airbnbs from now on. But so it is what it is, though.
Missing out on the whole show with your own car.
Yeah. And we have a Facebook group in Florida Rats and Rods, and the guy's like, "Oh, I saved you a spot," and I'm like, "Don't worry, I can't get my car out." And then he's like, "Oh yeah," and then the last day we're there, he's like, "Oh, did you know you could have parked your trailer here for $60 all weekend?" And I was like, "No." He's like, "Oh, I thought you knew," and I'm like, "Fuck, man, no." I'm like rolling up in my 14 Ram lifted, like, oh yeah, like, cool cars, guys. All right, I gotta go home now. But
yeah, well, at least you weren't in a rental or a Prius or something.
We piss Priuses off.
My truck identifies as a Tesla.
Yeah, has it blown black smoke out the back too, huh?
Yeah,
Just a little.
Just a little bit. I mean, it has weight loss kit, and it's on 38s and 8 inches of lift and big move out the way bumpers and
nice.
So with you,
I've had my fill of lifted trucks.
Yeah.
Well, I was glad I had it. It took 4-wheel drive to get out the driveway the first night.
Mm-hmm. With you having a niche that you like to stick in, is even your daily, like, what are you dailying right now? Is it still, 50-something older,
or? It's a 2-part question, I guess. I mean, I daily my Evo, which is that fat boy.
Mm-hmm.
It's got like 64,000 miles on it.
Hell yeah.
But I have a 42 Ford that I literally bought and have been piling parts in the corner for it just to make it a daily.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay,
my daily will be a 42 Ford because that's the whole plan.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Excuse us.
That propel's coming up the wrong direction now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're a young cat, so you kind of fit in the generation that we're trying to kind of get involved in cars again, because it seems like there's a drastic disconnect between our parents' generation and our generation of old heads not wanting to share information. So what would be and also hoarding the cars, I'll get to that one day, or people owning stuff just to say that they own something even though it's a half a cab sitting back there wrapped around a tree or something. What's one advice?
Growing through it.
Or that. What's one piece of advice that you'd give a young guy trying to get into this?
Mine would be, don't worship the cars. They're all just steel. If you like this shape, go for that shape, whatever it is. If you like 35 Chevrolets, go for it. Don't be afraid of high price tags, because everybody finds a deal at some point in time if you're looking hard enough. People say, "Oh, these are hard to find. These are hard to find." If I start looking for something, I find it. Nothing's hard to find. I mean, I hate to break people's hearts about that, but nothing's hard to find. There's always a deal somewhere, but you have to be able to work, like your truck. You got a 32, which is one of the most expensive vehicles on the market, but you found something you could afford, probably because it needs a lot of work. So you got to be afraid not to work. But most importantly, just don't worship it. They're all just steel. Do whatever you want with it. If you want to cut the roof off of it, do it. Make it convertible. Do anything you want to it that makes you happy and makes you want to drive it more.
Hell yeah. I like that response.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
That's a good one.
That pretty much nails it on the head, because we're always like, it doesn't matter what it is, as long as you like it. It doesn't have to appease anybody. And Ken said it last night. He said, it's way easier for somebody to turn their back and say they don't like your car than for you to build something that you hate driving just to appease somebody else.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh man. And do what you can afford too, because I would love to have a big block blown 50s Hemi in my car, but I can afford a 327 right now, so it's gonna have a 327.
Yeah.
Get over it.
Oh, that was the 32. Like, I was like, oh man, nothing would be cooler than a blower. And
Yeah, for $10,000.
And then I was like, well, they sell a blower belt kit that, puts a big pulley on the alternator and a water pump and the crank to make it look like it's got a blower belt on it. So 3 deuces and a blower belt conversion's what's going on it. So.
Do what you got to do, Get it driving, then figure everything else out.
Well, we were at Turkey and I couldn't. The dude gave me a super good deal on it's a old Corvette style intake with the vent tube, so it looks older than it really is, with 3 Super 97s and enough linkage and parts to, if I found another 3 deuce intake, I could build another intake. 2 sets of link with 3 Holley 94s, 3 Super 97s, brand new. Then the price he wanted for it, I was like, that's more than my budget for Turkey Rod Run was, but hey.
It was one of those things, like when we were first there talking, well, he does all the dealing, but when we were first there talking to the guy, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, so it's that big box, it's that little box, and it's that big, for lack of better words, metal piece. And we went to the ATM, pulled out what we needed, went back, and this dude has like 5 boxes piled up on the bed of his van. He's like, oh yeah, all of this is yours, and this and this. Oh, and don't forget this. And we're like, we got a little scooter, and he's like loading up the back of our little scooter. We're like, okay, yeah, this was definitely a deal we could not pass up. And
hand her the intake in the passenger seat, and I'm like, hug this.
Holding it like a baby.
Do not even, don't move. We're going straight to the truck. Like, we're done for the day. I'm going to the truck. We're going to unload all of this. I'm taking it back to the Airbnb. It's not even staying in the truck in the parking lot. Like, we're done. Yep. Partially because I was out of money, but... So...
Yeah, you got your little child out of the deal. It's time to go.
So... I don't know. Are you married or in a relationship or anything like that? Is your girl into this as well, or?
I'm married. She's into the motorcycles and she likes hot rods.
Hell yeah!
And we've been married since 2012.
Okay.
You don't seem old enough to be married that long.
Well, I was born in 91.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's only a couple years younger than me.
I'm a couple years older than me. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, so they got married right out of high school.
Well, that's sweet.
Couple years out of high school. Look at you there. Not everybody waited till they were 30 to find the person that they were going to marry.
Well, I was in Pennsylvania. Anyway.
So, have you always lived in Virginia, or you ended up there? Or?
No, I grew up in Kansas City.
Okay.
And I moved out here because I was a military contractor. This is like the area in Virginia. If you want to be a military contractor, this is where you got to live.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So in all of your building of vehicles and bikes and everything, what is, I don't know how to word this right, so it's just going to come out how it is. What is like one thing that you're like, I could do this all the time, whether it's engine work or body work or interior?
All of it. I like doing everything.
Okay.
I'm in my upholstery room and there's a sewing machine behind me, which you can't see right now. And I like to sew, I like to wire it. Electrical is one of my favorite things I like to do, but I also like to paint the body. I like to cut the floor out and channel it. I don't know. I like doing all of it.
And do you travel?
I have before, for sure.
I mean, Bushnell's a small town, but Bushnell's a small town, but you're always welcome.
We do have a really good spot meet on the first Sunday of every month.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to chop your car while we're there?
If you, I'll tell you what, bud. And I knew this was coming up, and I was waiting for it. If you want to come down here and help me with the 32, I'll figure out a way to get the 54 up to your shop, and we'll chop the shit out of it.
What do you need help on the 32? What's going on with that?
One, I have just getting started on it. I got the plates to box it. It's got, and I'm not real familiar with the 32, but it's got a buggy spring perch that I don't think is in the right spot. So I'm going to take it out, and I'm going to coilovers and 4-link.
Okay, on all the way around.
The front already has hairpins.
Okay.
But it's got a Super Bell drop axle. I don't know how much drop. I don't know how to calculate that. I'm really kind of newer to this old of stuff. My dad always played in like the late 50s to 72 was always and then I don't know why I've always had an infatuation with, I really want a coupe. After seeing the guy that I bought the 32 from's coupe yesterday, I'm like, this is, yeah. But the 32,
You always get a cheap man.
the 32 pickup is
31.
The 32 pickup is also, it's my bucket list build. So it's one that's gonna. I don't ever say nothing's for sale because everything has a price, but that one's gonna cost somebody quite a bit of money to get from me. I've turned down almost twice of what I paid for it, and I haven't done anything on it yet.
Other than take it apart.
Well, that's good.
So.
Where else are you gonna find one you can afford? Honestly.
Yeah, he gave me a really good deal, and I was still hesitant even when we left. I told Ashley, I was like, pick it apart, try to get me not to buy it. And we got there, and she did hold up her end of the bargain, but she wasn't listening also. So, like, she's pointing at stuff, and the guy is pointing at panels to fix it. So it's like, she's like, well, can we fix that? And I'm like, panel. Well, what about this? Panel. What about this? Panel. Like,
I was focused because when we went to go pick up Michelangelo, the 54, I was ecstatic because I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be our first, like, the first classic car we buy together. So, like, the nostalgia of it all, I was just blown away. I was excited. I'm like, let's go. And, we brought it home and we found some things that needed fixing, like, yesterday. And, we went over those hurdles and everything like that. So when he told me, when we go look at this car, at this 32, you need to pick it apart. And I was like, okay, dead focused. And I drowned out everything that they were talking about. I'm like, I can't listen to them because otherwise I'm just going to be like, oh my God, this is going to be so fun. We're going to build this. It's going to be awesome. And so I had to like hone it down, but then I focused too much and didn't listen to a damn thing they were saying.
Although we had to buy the 54 because there was so many things that, like, weird stuff that happened. Like, I bought not this past turkey run, but the first one that I ever took her to, I bought a Ratfink shirt, and I don't care how big the house is, how big's the garage, and there's a 54 pulling out of the garage, and the license plate is soon to be, and it's an orange 54. I wore that shirt unknowing to go pick up the car that's now Michelangelo. So it was like, soon to be, here's the car, it's on the trailer, and it's already loaded up, and the guy's like, wait a second, you have this car on your shirt. And I was like, what? I had to take it off and look at the shirt, and I was like, oh, and the license plate, like, it was meant to be that I own that car at some point. So, and
I got the same shirt. I know exactly what you're talking
about. So, And it accomplished what I was trying to do with that car, was get something that we could load up and go get ice cream, run around. I knew it was never going to be an interstate car, even though Brian is trying to persuade me to drive that car to Texas in September. It's not happening. It it does good, 60, 65.
It does
But
good at 65.
that's about it. I mean, it's about out there. Just little things that I can improve. I could have improved, but like when we were doing this, I lifted it 2 inches, and it still sits as low as it does. Like it's, and I don't understand, because it has stock springs in the front, and it still tucks tire.
Well, they make drop spindles too.
That that car was.
You could have it. I don't know.
That car was retardedly low. Now we're just like stupid low. But it got stuck leaving breakfast yesterday.
Oh man. Do you know what ratio the rear axle is?
I do not. I've never jacked it up and checked it.
That S10T5 is a 32% overdrive, I think. So with that, you need a 373 gear on the rear axle.
And I don't.
Maybe a lot better.
And I also.
I don't know what's in it, but
it's got a 235 motor to that, and the tack, the face of the tack spins with the needle. So like it.
Oh, nice.
So to me, it sounds, but I don't really have a good reference either. It sounds like it's screaming, but it also doesn't seem like it's tapped either. Like there's still room to move, but it doesn't sound like it wants very much more. So,
gotcha. Does it still have points in it?
No, it's got 12 volt with a regular distributor.
Oh, good. That helps a lot.
Yeah. That was done previously, but the wiring on that car could, if after the 32 is done, if I do keep it, I'm going to go through it and rewire the car, because right now it looks like I'm smuggling a kilo of cocaine under the dash, because they just bundled the wires up and taped them. So, like,
ugh.
And I thought it was bad. Dad's 34, the blue truck that's on our pages, his wiring is even worse. Uh-huh. And I'm like, how? It's got 5 circuits. There's nothing in this car. There never was anything in this car. Like, how does it fuses after the fuse panel, the light, the tail lights, if you hit the brakes, it's got the brown lights with the stop on top. So it's supposed to light the top one. The left one lights the bottom one, and it doesn't light any other time. It's got a Chevy steering column in it, so we'll blame it on that.
Oh, like the 80s style?
Yeah.
Yeah, whenever I see wire nests like that, I'm like, don't even mark anything. Just cut it all out. Start over.
Yeah.
I don't even want to know what it's doing right now. I don't care.
I've actually offered, because I have a kit here that I bought for the 32, and I've actually offered, like, here, I will give this to you because I'm not ready to wire yet, but here, and we'll rewire your 34, because I tried to help him one day, and I was like, this makes no sense. Disconnect wires, that light still works. This one is not working. You put both of them together, and then it lights backwards. You flip the wires, and it still lights backwards. I'm like, there's something severely wrong here, and it's a clean little truck. I mean, the body on the truck is stupid clean. I keep telling him to yank the hood off, but I just don't like hoods. But
Ford did everything right in 34. 33, 34, everything's awesome. Cars, trucks, everything.
Yeah. It's a good little truck, and I told him when we went to go look at it, because he went through. Uh, Cell phones take really good pictures nowadays, and we'd go look at cars, and he went and looked at a T bucket, and normally he's at the age of like if it's not within about an hour, he's good. So he found this T bucket, and he was like, "Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that'd be cool." And I'm like, "Well, come hook to the trailer and take the trailer and go over there and go grab it." And he went and he calls me. He goes, "Nope." And I'm like, "No, what?" He's like, "It was beautiful." He goes, "Until I tried to sit in it." And I'm like, "Well, I could have told you that it's a tea bucket. There ain't gonna be no room. Your knees are gonna be by your ears. Like that's part of that." He's like, "No, this one was even worse than that." But that was a Speedway kit, so it was short and skinny.
Oh man, that's too bad. Speedway also sells the extended cabs too.
Yeah. So
that's too bad.
But we went and looked at a 40 something. I don't even remember what it was, but the pictures looked beautiful. And get over there, and it was like 2 minutes, and I'm like, "No." He's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Well, first we pulled up, it was already running. I'm like, I'm getting a sunburn standing next to this big block. You were just telling me I don't need a big block. Why do you need one?" The interior, it was a wreck. And the guy wanted, prime money for it, and was like, "That's what I'm going to take for it." And I'm like, "Okay, well, respectfully, you're going to own it and have a good day." But that 34, the 34 was the opposite. The pictures online sucked. And I had seen the truck. I seen it first, and I was like, I don't need two trucks. Like, the 32 is getting done. I don't need another truck. So I had saved it on Facebook, and I kept going back to it. It kept popping up, and I'm like, maybe I'll offer him the 54 and the bike, and if he takes it, he takes it. And then I just end up with two trucks. I end up with a shiny truck and a bear truck. Like, okay, maybe that's cool. And he sent it to me, and he's like, "What do you think of this one?" And I'm like, "You should go buy it." And he's like, "That was quick. You didn't even look at the pictures." I'm like, "I know everything about that truck already. Go get it." And we pulled up, and the pictures were like, if you could have went and said, "Okay, I want you to take pictures of this vehicle, but like make sure that you get all of the wrong angles. Make sure that every shadow in a garage that you can possibly get is in the picture. Like, the paint is beautiful, but don't show that in the pictures." Like, he took a picture and you can see a reflection of another car, and it made the body look like it was wavy. And I'm like, come on. We got there, so I told Dad on the way there, I said, "Hey, if you don't buy this," I said, "we're going back to the house, and I'm picking up the 54, and you're riding my bike, and we're coming back here because I'm going to try to trade this guy out of this car." And he ended up taking it home, and they've enjoyed it. We took it to barbecue. We have a restaurant down here called Barbecue and Ice Cream. They took it out for their first cruise together last weekend. So they're enjoying it. That's cool. That's what it's all about.
34s right now are a hot commodity too. A lot of them are getting bought sight unseen. It's like stupid popular in my niche for sure, at least.
Well, down here, and I don't want to say it, is location, but for some reason, vehicles down here are just about 5 to 10% more than they are everywhere else in the entire country. And certain models are worse. Like a C10, you can go out west, Texas, Arizona, and buy clean C10s. You could probably run out there and load a 3 or 4 car hauler and come back and double your money on every single one of them. And turkey rod run is, you're walking through and it's like, "Oh yeah, that's probably like a $25,000 truck," and $65. I'm like, "What? No, there's no." Or We have a real bad habit of $45,000 to $50,000 Model A's in Florida, and I'm like,
Oh,
that's not
that's insane.
that's and like if you could add rat rod in the front of it, that automatically makes it worth 20 grand more. It's like that's not how that works. Like, but
Yeah. Even if you put 60 grand in it, it doesn't mean it's going to be worth that much.
yeah, that's another thing and I think a lot of some of them at least is exactly that. A husband passes away, his wife goes through the binder of receipts, totals them up, and goes, "Well, he spent this, so it's got to be worth that." Well, no.
Right.
Sometimes cars are just a labor of love. Like my 54,
Yeah, exactly.
I took it to the car show. They had a little winter extravaganza 3-day car corral, and I was like, well, I'll just put it in there, and if it sells, it sells. If it don't, I'll drive it home. Like I don't have to sell it, but if it sells, it'll give me more money to finish the 32, so that works out too. And an older guy come up, and I wanted to punch him because he was like, I'd put 9 grand on it, and he's like, 900, and I'm like, no, K usually means 1,000. Like that's pretty universal. And like, I'm done talking to you. Like, you can leave now. And he's like, this is ridiculous. This car would need a full restoration. And I'm like, well, first of all, it's a 54 210. It's not really restorable candidate. Like, it's too far gone to bring it back to restoration quality. It's a driver. I drove it here. I drive it everywhere. Like that, it's original paint, original motor. The 5-speed is just so it can get out of its own way if it has to. It's not, yeah, you could buy every part on it and you could make it better and it would be worth 20, but you would have 60 in it. That's not what this is about. Like, it's a cool car to go cruising, and that's what it is. And fuck you, I like it. So
Yeah. Then a lot of these guys remember like, oh, I bought these kind of cars for this price in the 90s.
Yep.
It's like, well, the 90s is like 30 years ago now, man. Those prices are way different now.
my dad went through that as well because back when he was trading, that late 50s to 72, he had some cool ass cars when I was growing up. He had a 68 step-side C10, clean. Malibu, 68 Chevelle Malibu, factory AC, black leather, 4-speed car. And at that time, it was the $10,000 to $15,000 cars that he was trading in. So when he got out of it, and then I got back into it, so he was like, well, I guess I got to get back into it now. Well, that $10,000 to $15,000 budget that you used to have a really, really cool car will now get you a car that you got to throw some attention at before you can say it's good. But it is what it is. I mean, and I'm fortunate that Ashley enjoys working on shit almost as much, if not more than me. So she's chomping at the bit to get lights, and I'm trying to keep her in here. She's wanting to run out and go work in the dark, That's usually me.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was you last 3 nights in a row.
I don't know why. I feel like working better at like dark. I guess it's because no one else is up, so I don't have to worry about my phone ringing or somebody wanting to talk or text, or you didn't text me back, or you just go throw on some music and get it.
Yeah, some peacefulness.
Yeah. So is your shop next to the house, or you have a commute to the shop, or?
Oh, it's all right behind my house. It's awesome.
Oh,
yeah.
Dogs hanging out with me all day. And
hell yeah.
Just how I like it.
Cool.
Now in your town, I'm not very familiar about Virginia area, just a little bit because I was just north of you. But like, like last night when we had Ken on, he was like, I'm the car scene in in our town. Like, what does the car scene look like in your area? You know, do you have the weekly cruises? Do you have like any shows, things like that?
In my specific town, there's only like, I don't know, 300 people live here, and it's a farming community,
Mm,
and I don't have any neighbors. There's like a cotton field across the street, and behind me is all woods. Hunt clubs out here, so I mean,
yeah.
there's basically nothing right here. But I mean, of course, all that stuff's everywhere, you know.
Mm,
So if I want to drive an hour, I can go do that somewhere else. But yeah, in my town, there ain't nothing,
no,
nothing at all.
we gotta drive a little ways sometimes. I mean,
Yeah.
we're close to a retirement community that does have a lot of hidden classic cars, but to find them,
Oh, nice.
they're all in garages. You know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I work.
Yeah, you got to break your neck when you see a garage door open up.
yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
I work a job where I'm constantly in that retirement community driving around, and they know, they're tracking my car, and they know when I find somebody cool or wants to talk about their car, because the car will stop, and I'll figure out a reason to go check a house just because, like the other day there was a guy, and I'm sitting doing an inspection on another house, and I hear, Cam small black Chevy just thumping down the street, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'll have to figure out where he's at. The next house I had to go to was his house, and I'm like, stood and talked to him for 30 minutes, just, what? And he's getting rid of it because it has the ejecto seat option. The driver's door won't shut, and he's had it to 3 or 4 different people, and he can't figure it out. And he said it shuts, and then as soon as you turn right, he said, I've fallen out of it a couple of times. I'm like, well, holler at me, man. I'll try to come up and help you. But he hasn't reached back out yet. And that's what we started this for, was to kind of get those cars that, those people that have tucked them away because they don't think anything's going on. We want to try to get whether it's a once a month or twice a month or whatever, cruise in a public place where people drive by and go, hey, I have a classic car. And those guys are in that parking lot every Saturday, so let me go get my car and I'll be back next Saturday. And try to root these people out, because everybody can contribute, even, young guys, our generation. The one picture, Ashley's favorite picture from yesterday, was this dude walks in, we're all standing in the garage, and it was still kind of cold, so he had the heaters on and the garage doors down, and guy comes in, older guy, and he's like, whose 54 is that? And, I'm the token new guy to the group, and he ain't seen it yet. So he's like, who's 54? I was like, oh, it's mine. Oh, hey. And introduces himself. And we're talking. He had seen a post, the exhaust on that car, when I redid the manifolds on it, were not the same manifolds that were on it. So the exhaust didn't fit, and flex pipe to try to make it work, to try to make a show. And then it needs to go to an exhaust shop, but you have to not drive it to take it to the exhaust shop. So I don't want to not drive it. But they ran the exhaust pipes under the cross member instead of over or through it. So they had 2 options, and they went with the wrong one.
Yeah, especially when you're that low.
Yeah. Yeah, it drug really good when I first got it. Somehow it loaded on the trailer without grinding, though. But then unloading it, I guess the traveling made it lower itself, because unloading it in the yard, it trenched to where I parked it, and then driving it, we didn't have any concrete here, so I'm driving it to my mom and dad's house, and I'm driving down the road.
And only he could be in it, because if I was in it too, then it would drag even more. Yeah. But we got it situated. But needless to say, my favorite picture was the 2 of them under his hood. I'm just because I turned out to be the only female there, and I still had a freaking blast. But I'm like creeping around other cars and just kind of like just watching from afar because like this, I do understand this is mainly guy world, and I'm just tiptoeing around it. But the little glimpses that I see are pretty cool, and I was like, I have to take a picture of that because that is what we're all about. You know, that's what we're here for. You know, passed down from generation, and someone like you coming from your family, like.
And I had the same. You know, my dad was a hot rodder. You know, we drag race and stuff like that. So I'd kind of come through that. You know, Hot Wheels at the swap meet, trading Hot Wheels back to the Hot Wheel guy every month, and because you know my dad was trading big cars, so I'd trade little cars. And Ashley was not fortunate of that. You know, she was her father at in youth was very girls belong in the house, so go in there.
And what sucked, and not to sound like a creep and not to cut you off, but I have to bring this up. I'm scrolling through your Instagram and I'm like, I stopped abruptly because I'm like, oh my God, that's a fire truck. Your local town fire truck or whatever, you took a picture of it. I'm like, that is so awesome. Well, growing up, my dad acquired a old fire. I don't even know what year it was because he wouldn't even tell me any details, but that's what he was working on and trying to restore it and get it back up and running. Because in my hometown, the firehouse runs a show, well, drive-by really, every year for Christmas, and they put Santa on top of the fire truck and they hand out candy canes to all the little kids. So that was like that was going to be the truck to do it. And I always wanted to go out and help, and I was told to go back inside. But I just thought that fire truck was cool when I saw it on your Instagram. I'm like, oh my God, that's awesome. Had to bring it up.
And now I hand her tools.
Yeah,
yeah.
Her hands fit in
that
places
truck
better
has an
than
awesome
mine.
story too.
The fire truck.
Oh yeah, it's their original fire truck from 1934, and it was the first motorized vehicle in the city.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
So it's got
yeah, and they
history.
still got it. Pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, apparently it's got a lot of history.
Did you get to work on it at all, or you were just there to just look?
I worked on it some, then they're gonna bring it to my shop once my bigger shop's open, so it'll fit in there.
Hell yeah.
Cool.
You're adding on to what you
The
currently have?
firefighter guys there.
He's building a new shop.
Yeah, I have a 75 by 35 right now, and I'm attaching a 40 by 40 to it, and I'm gonna have what I'm working in right now is gonna be like the done cars or the cars that just need like an air conditioner or something like that. Then my main shop is gonna be an 85 by 40, and that'll just be all the hardcore work in there.
Hell yeah.
So
Cool.
super excited about it.
That's awesome. And that's all right behind your house.
Right behind my house. Just walk right out
Nice.
the back door. It's nice.
That's the dream.
Yeah, that's the dream goals.
I thought we had it. We had bought property and was going to build a 60 by 40 shop with a 20 by 40 house attached to it. And the county that I had bought land in was like, no, you can't live in a metal building. And I'm like, well,
That's too bad.
they were saying it wasn't safe. And I'm like, well, there's $43 gentrals within a half a mile of here. So, so it's a commercial building. I'm like, no, but the same people that built that red iron building is building my house. So I would assume that same strength. No. And then contractor, hell.
Condominiums are huge right now too.
Yeah. Well, and what's messed up is like a half a mile down the road, they're building basically what we were trying to build. So apparently the county, after we gave up, decided like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll let you do it now. But,
And according to the bank, you can't call them
lovely timing,
barndominiums. Huh? But anyway.
so, where can people find you?
Yes.
Wired Customs everywhere: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I used to do a lot of YouTube, but I've been so busy lately, I haven't done it. But I'm gonna get back at it this year, for sure.
The young guy that was in the video, or the younger guy that was in the video, you were teaching about the flatheads, the differences and stuff like that. Is he related or just a kid that you were mentoring, or?
That was my nephew,
Oh, okay.
my sister's son.
Oh, cool. I remember that video.
Yeah, he bought his first hot rod. He's actually a good mechanic. He races, he does street races like the Hondas, and like for real though, his Honda's like probably got $20,000 invested in his car. So he's a pretty serious mechanic, but he's never worked on anything old.
Mm-hmm.
And he bought like a '52 Ford shoebox, and it was a flathead in it. And I was like, well, he was asking me how the carburetor works and all that kind of stuff, and I was like, just bring it over, and we'll just rebuild everything together. Because you're a good mechanic, you just need to learn the difference. You know? So that was what that video was a part of, was teaching him the difference.
Yeah, because there's a lot, and that's why I made the decision to go small block, is because of it was, I didn't have someone right close that could share that information, and I do know small blocks, so I was like, well, I can easily obtain one. I have one available, and I'm also not going to have to like wait around for somebody to answer me, and I'm not going to have to pester people to come help every step of the way. So, but
yeah, and you can go to a parts store and buy anything you need, which is a nice plus. Yes. I can't do that on any of my cars.
Well, you get weird looks, even the 54, you get weird looks just because like it's still running. Well, not currently. I'm trying to get it running. I need that part that I just told you. I gave you the part number. Like, I don't know if you've seen the post. I posted about it's the lower control arm, outer kingpin pivot bolt for the bottom. The nut stripped, and it's not a common thread, apparently, because I tried like every nut I could possibly find in that size, and it wouldn't work. So we Afro engineered it to work, and a couple ugga-duggas to make it stick, and put a paint line. So you stop and put gas in it. You peek under there, make sure the line's still lined up, and all right, let's go again. Mm-hmm. But I had located one at the Parts Empire, Napa, and they were like, oh, yeah, you have to pay for it. And I was like, well, obviously I would pay for it. And they're like, well, yeah, but you also have to pay, it was like $75. It's a $200 bolt, and then $75 to ship it. And I'm like, well, where's it at? I'll just go get it for $200. Oh, it's in Georgia. I'm like, I'll definitely go get it. And then I was like, I got to figure, I'll find it somewhere else. Like somebody has switched to a Mustang too, and they have these parts sitting behind their shop or something. And like, it doesn't have to be new. Well, apparently I was wrong, because I've searched and searched and searched, and I can't find one.
And let's clarify, it was the Napa, our local Napa.
Yeah.
Not another state.
Oh no! Well, I
did message him.
We were on live, and I was like, "Hey Brian, I need you to find me a part?" And he's like, "Oh yeah." He's like, "You don't have a Napa near you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I have a Napa near me. I have the part number from Napa. They just refuse to, I'm not paying basically 1.5 times just to get it shipped." And he was like, "Oh, I'll find it." I'm like, "Okay." So he finds it. And he's like, "Yep, this is the part, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's it." He goes, "Yeah, there's not one available in North America anymore." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Okay, so
you're putting a different bolt in there. How are you?
That has crossed my mind.
Yeah.
But what's weird is it's got which the car doesn't have a whole lot of grease in it anyway when I got it, so it probably wouldn't affect it at all. But it's got a grease hole. So the one end has a grease cert. And I'm like, well, probably wouldn't affect it, but I haven't went to that that extreme yet, but it may come. If I keep it, then I'll do something with it. But right now it's I have 2 gas gauges on the car. One says full, one says empty. So I just go with it somewhere in the middle. So fill it up every time you drive it. So so it gets checked constantly. But all right, Ashley, got anything else?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. What you got?
And for those who don't already know, if you look in our description, the link for Throttle Addict, using the code word Hot Rod, you get 15% off, and you show your love and support. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and of course, like, comment, subscribe on Wired Customs and the amazing work he does. And just scrolling through his Instagram for a few minutes. Oh my God. So yeah. Thank y'all.
All right.
Yeah, appreciate it.